What's up, bitches? How's everybody doing? Kyle and Corin here with you with another tremendous show. Believe me, it's happening. It happened, man. Trump is
Donald
president.
Trump's our fucking president.
Yeah. Did you see any of the inauguration or no?
So I recorded it because I was gonna be at work, and then when I was like, I'm gonna watch it when I get home and just see what a shit show it is.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my DVR, and do you have DVR? Like,
yes.
When you tape, so at the top it was like 92% full, and I saw that the inauguration was like 6 hours long. I just deleted the whole shit.
You didn't miss much. You really didn't.
I saw bits and pieces. I was watching a little on Twitter. They had like a live feed.
I thought he looked a little, to say nothing of like the substance of his speech or the lack thereof. He actually looked like deflated and tired, and he was very reserved for himself. And I think it's because he was on a script. He was actually reading it, as opposed to usually when he was doing his rallies, he'd be out there and just kind of shooting from the hip and saying whatever comes to his mind. And
that's more natural for him.
Yeah, that's classic Trump. Is just I'm going to say stuff. I'm going to talk, and then I'm not going to stop talking. Mm-hmm. And but during this speech, he was reading, and it was a little awkward because like he paused at times for like applauses, and they didn't really come. Like it was like very tepid, and you're like, ooh.
Well, there was nobody there, right?
Well, there wasn't as many as like Obama's inaugurations. I think they said, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think they said like 250,000 or something like that came for Trump. And apparently
not a lot at all.
Apparently the Women's March the day after had like 750,000 across the country, not in Washington D.C. alone, but like across the country. That's pretty funny.
You know what was weird that I saw from the live stream? He was like talking, and I know it was like raining a little bit, but there was like Marines or soldiers that kept like walking up behind him real fast.
Oh yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I thought that was honestly poor planning. I mean, I guess I'd have to go back and look and see like if this happened during previous presidents too, but I thought that was strange too. You're giving a speech and you got like an aisle behind you, and it's like a movie theater. People keep getting out and walking to like the bathroom and shit. It looked like.
Well, like the first time it happened, I was like, "Yo, someone's about to like assassinate this dude." Like, because I swear to God, I was like, no one should be able to just like start walking up on him like that in the middle of like his most important speech right now. And then I saw like a Marine jack, and I was like, yo, some Marine really just is about to just do it, you know?
Could you imagine the amount of security that they really dump into this thing?
Oh, I'm sure, but that's why I was like, it's a little weird that like this one person.
Yeah. I thought it was weird too. I thought like if you're going to have an aisle, put the aisle not directly behind him, or make sure that nobody moves while he's talking.
Yeah.
Because that's what it would look like. It looked like a movie theater, and he's up there, and people are like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, I'm going to go get some fucking snow caps or some shit.
Yo, there was one guy who did it, and then like there was like 8 of them who did it, and I don't know what they were doing.
I don't know either. I thought it was poor planning. I did.
Yeah,
you know what it's like. I was in your wedding. You've been in a bunch of weddings, and it's like, you even though you plan for it a little bit, it's like when it's happening, you're like, oh shit, like what pace are we supposed to walk at? Where are we supposed to line up? What's supposed to happen? And people just, I don't know. Yeah. Works like that everywhere, man. I mean, could you, like the amount of planning that has to go into something like a fucking inauguration where it's all day long they're doing shit, where Trump goes from one place to another place, got to give a speech here, got to give a speech there. You have to have security everywhere. You have to have, when they drive down the thing.
And everybody's got their own type of security. Like, so Bill Clinton's got his Secret Service, then Obama's got his Secret Service, Trump's got his people. So are they like tight at each other? Like, are there many wars going on with the security teams?
I don't know, because I know I don't remember when the law was passed, but it wasn't always the case that ex-presidents get Secret Service. But they have the option now, and I know some of them choose to keep them, and some of them don't. Like, I don't know if Jimmy Carter has Secret Service. I don't think he does. But he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would still have Secret Service. But maybe I'm wrong. But like, if I was a former president, I'd probably keep him.
It's an option? I thought like they have to have
could choose. They don't have to have it. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah, I think there was a law that was passed actually not even that long ago, maybe in like the 90s or some shit. And it offered them like, okay, if you want Secret Service, you could keep it. I think I'd probably keep it if I was a former president.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, one, it's just cool as fuck. I mean, you have like
an entourage.
Yeah, and then I see all the time on Twitter, like I think it's Jimmy Carter just flies like regular commercial planes, and he's always just taking pictures of people.
Jimmy fucking Carter is the man, dude. He so he gets a bad rap because the economy was shitty under him. Mm-hmm. But it's not like all the hatred against him and like the consensus he's a bad president. I don't buy that, because for example, he's the only president post World War II who never fired a shot. so he wasn't like doing fucking crazy wars everywhere and shit. So he was kind of like he's like a Christian who actually kind of tries to be like Jesus, as opposed to like the Christians who are like, I'm like Jesus anyway, give me my gun and let's go invade places. Like, so he's a good guy like that. Yeah, and there was that thing going on Twitter. I retweeted it too. It was,
maybe that's why I saw it.
Yeah, it was Jimmy Carter. He was flying commercial. He's like 1 trillion years old, but he's flying commercial, and he was sitting in coach, I think, and he just shook everybody's hand on the flight. Just smiling, shaking everybody's hand. And it wasn't like fake. Like, you know how some presidents, it feels like fake? Like, it's almost like, okay, I got to, like, I know I don't want to talk to all these people, but I'm just going to suck it up and talk to all these people. With Jimmy Carter, it just seems like he's a happy guy who's like, hey, how are you? Like,
where, like, some people are like, like, don't bother me. Like, he sort of wants to, like, talk to people and get attention.
Obama was not a horrible president. Everybody knows I think he's a mixed bag, but, like, I feel like he at times like at the inauguration itself he had to go out there, obviously shake everybody's hand, and like when he was shaking George W. Bush's hand, Bill Clinton's hand, Hillary Clinton's hand, when he was giving a kiss on the cheek to Melania and shaking Trump's hand, he had this fake smile on, like, this is fine, right? Like, no, motherfucker, it's not. You know it's not. Stop playing. Like, why you could kind of admit it.
It's got to be so fucking awkward because Trump's standing up there saying all this negative shit. We're gonna rebuild this and everything's bad and this and that. And I saw at one point he said something, and like everybody, like, we're gonna rebuild America, and like finished off on that, and everybody like stood up and was clapping. And Obama did the most gangster thing. He like stood up, didn't clap, but he sort of like fixed his jacket, like, so it was shit. Like,
I didn't see
why,
that.
Why would I clap for this? Like,
I want to see that. I want to see that. That actually sounds awesome.
It was like he felt he did a good job, and like, everything's going in the right direction. It's just like, why am I going to stand up and applaud for this motherfucker saying that everything's bad?
Well, I was going to say, to be fair to Trump, the parts of the speech that I actually liked are when he said about, like, the factory towns are ruined, rusted out factories, and we're going to bring jobs back here, and no longer are we going to have trade policy that's in favor of China and all these other places. I actually like those parts of the speech, but that's the thing, is that's one of the reasons why Trump won, is that he's way more populist than other Republicans. Like, Mitt Romney would have never given that speech, where Mitt Romney doesn't have shit to say to middle-class workers, factory workers, even though Trump's not going to actually do shit for them. He can pretend like he is in an effective way, whereas Mitt Romney, he just smells like Richie Rich. He's up there and you're like, you don't care about anything but cutting the fucking capital gains tax for rich people. You don't give a fuck about factory people. But that's why Trump won. And it's funny how, like, all the other Republicans are still kind of oblivious to the reasons why Trump won. Like, oh, maybe the fact that he pretended to care about middle-class people is why he won. Yeah. But you still see, like, Paul Ryan and all the Mitch McConnell, they're just so, like, weird, so out of touch.
You might have tweeted it or something, but, like, the fact that, I think it was something you said about Marco Rubio, how he, like, sort of sunned him, and now, like, Rubio's on stage. Like the fact that he shitted on all these people, and, like, everyone was, like, so against him, and now that he won, it's almost like, hey, remember me? Like, remember? No. Like,
it's so sad, man. Because
like, they're little fucking puppets. Like, they have no like pride or anything.
Exactly. That's
even Hillary Clinton. Fuck her for being there. Like fuck you. Like,
yeah. I mean, to be fair to her, every ex-president goes to these things, and Bill had to go, so it's like she had kind of had to go to be like, what's he gonna sit up there and have Monica Lewinsky on his arm? But
he's so gangster. You saw that clip of him staring down. Dude, was it Melania he was staring at?
Yeah, there were like 3 different clips of Bill Clinton just fucking like women, man, all over the place. Like fucking Michelle Obama, Melania. It's like Hillary keeps him in a cage, and he gets out there. He's like, oh, where's the pussy at? I'd like some
Hillary's
pussy in my life.
When she looks, like, there were so many memes. They're like good memes of.
Oh, like, I know. Obama, the Bernie one was my favorite. You saw the Bernie one where he's running out WWE with the chair.
People are so fucking smart. Like, how do they think of this so quick? You know?
Somebody said, somebody tweeted like a picture of, it was Abraham Lincoln when, like, the monument, when Trump and Melania are walking away from it. Yeah. And it had the face of crying Jordan on it. And the person tweeted, the internet is undefeated. And I thought, that's exactly correct. It really is.
One of Abraham Lincoln, I saw it. They were both looking at him, and the statue is like this with his hands. And he turns and gives him the middle finger.
No, it was great.
People are, oh my God.
I went in. My GIF/GIF game was on
point.
That. I just kept going.
Funny.
with like all different like hashtag inauguration and just showing people fucking face planting and all types of shit.
It's so perfect that it was raining and just like a miserable day. Just
did you hear all the right wingers like rationalizing all that shit? Like Franklin Graham, who's a crazy right wing pastor, went up there and he's like, it's a sign from Jesus if it starts raining when the president talks that he's on the side of this president or some shit. Like he was just making it up. And then Trump goes out there the next day and says the opposite. He's like, it was raining a little bit and then I started talking and there was like the last few drops and then it stopped raining. And then it was like God was looking down and blessed it. And then like right when I finished, it started raining again. It's like, motherfucker, stop trying to do the fake cosmic metaphysical like this is all so planned and it's fucking destiny, and that's the shit that they do in fucking Saudi Arabia. Like this is what Allah declares and decrees. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's just trying to drag us back to a more primitive time, and we're not even at too much of an advanced time right now, so it's really sad. It's
gonna be so crazy that he like if he's gonna have to give speeches in like our most predominant states like New York, California, Washington, no one's going to show up. Like, he's going to have to give all of his speeches in, like, these weary, like, fucking towns. Like, he's going to have to go to Coxsackie, Kansas or something, or, like, Kentucky, and, like, give a speech with mad people to show that he's, like, the man. Because if he comes to New York, even though he has his Trump Tower and shit, like, no one's showing up. If they're showing up, they're going to protest.
What's funny is he also cares a lot more about this shit than every other president. Like, he famously said after he won, like, we're going to do a victory tour. We're going to do victory rallies. No president ever does that because after you're done on the campaign trail, you are fucking exhausted from being out there on the stump giving speeches nonstop. But Trump was like that. No, that's what I want to go back to do because he needs that. He thrives off that attention. And I'm not one to talk. I mean, I have a fucking YouTube channel. I get that attention every day, so I like it too. But I mean, this is a guy he's running the fucking free world. Yeah. So, but that's what he wants. He loves the rally aspect of it and the adoration aspect of it. He's not about the brass tacks and the policy and getting behind closed doors and really getting to work with all the things that you have to do as president.
Nitty-gritty shit.
Yeah, and so he did a bunch of rallies and he loved it, and now, like, I can see him as president. And it actually is kind of creepy, too, because usually the only people who do that, like, they continue to do the rallies when they're already in power. Fascists.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you have like the rallies when you already won. Like, it's one thing to give a speech like State of the Union and all these different speeches that you kind of have to give.
Yeah.
But to do rallies on a regular basis is creepy, and it seems like that's what he would thrive off of the most. And it seems like, but to be fair to him, even though he has a smaller number of supporters, they're really rabid. You know what I mean? Like, Hillary got 3 million more votes, so she's gotten more supporters. But the Hillary supporters, a bigger chunk of them are like, eh. Whereas the Trump supporters are like, Trump, I want to blow him, Trump, orange cum in my mouth.
Yeah.
Somebody's definitely going to clip that out and use that.
Shirts and
yeah. So
I don't know. I thought the contrast between the 2 days, like, I'm actually am like an emotional person. And like my sister went to the march and she was in Denver, and I was coaching basketball yesterday downtown Chicago. And I saw like women with their signs at the bus stops and everything like that. The contrast between like the inauguration day and like showing his people there supporting him and just how like I don't know, like hillbilly and just how white everybody looked. And then the next day, like just so many people across the states like protesting and like just being proud of like women and everybody coming together. Like, no joke, I thought it was just like such an awesome day yesterday. I thought yesterday was like the perfect day.
So this kind of leads into something that I wanted to talk about because I'm curious your take on this. So I'm not sure if it was on the day of his inauguration or the day after or something like that. But there's a bunch of right wingers who were out there, doing their rallies and shit too. And there's this one guy, his name is Richard Spencer. He's basically a neo-Nazi. Like he's a founder of the alt-right, which is just like the new spruced up online version of a neo-Nazi. They like to use that cartoon frog a lot, Pepe.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And like for a while they maintained like no, we're alt-right, and then they, some people call them white nationalists. They want a nation of like only white people or something. And then at a conference recently in Washington, kind of dropped the veil and just kind of outed themselves as neo-Nazis because in the speech he said, He spoke about the Lügenpresse, which is basically the Nazi term for lying press that was used famously in Nazi Germany. He ended the speech by saying, "Hail Trump, hail our people, hail victory." And hail victory, of course, translates in German to Sieg Heil, which is the famous Nazi, salute. There were literally people in the audience giving the Nazi salute. Nice. So this guy is as loathsome and gross and evil and wrong as it gets. Mm-hmm. So he was given an interview to some fucking channel or something, and in the middle of the interview, somebody runs up and just fucking cold cocks him, sucker punches him, nails him right in the side of the face. He gets hit pretty good, and then you see him basically start running away like a little bitch.
Was this in a studio or was it?
No. This was outside, during the rallies and shit. Somebody was interviewing him outside, and so this lit up on Twitter. It was like a big thing on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And obviously, given what I do and where I fall on the political spectrum, I'm more on lefty Twitter. Mm-hmm. And so, what do you think of that? What do you this guy really is like a Nazi, basically.
Yeah, like someone who deserves to get punched in the face.
Like, if there's anybody who deserves it, it's him who deserves it. But what's your overall take on it? Are you cool with it, or what do you think about that?
That's a tough one. I'm sort of cool with it because it's just like that guy deserves to get punched in his face, but then again, that doesn't say you should do that because then it's it's opening the door to you're stooping down to their level, and it's almost like it's tough. I mean, he shouldn't have punched him in the face. Maybe have a confrontation with him after or something that gets news outlets and just maybe some arguing or something. But when you punch him in the face, I think I've read, maybe you tweeted this, you give that guy legitimacy, and you sort of, make people sympathize for him. It's like, oh man, he got punched in his face. Now that guy has to go home and he's punched in his face, and sad for that guy. But it's like, no, fuck that guy, because he wants people dead and all this stuff. So it's tough. I don't think anybody really deserves to get punched in their face. If anybody does, it's that guy. But it probably wasn't the right way to go about trying to get your point across that you're, against him.
Yeah, you sound like you're exactly where I am. So, I get it. On a visceral and primitive level, I get it. Mm-hmm. He's a fucking Nazi. If there's anybody who deserves to get punched in the face, it's him. But then on the other hand, I have a standard for violence, and my standard is very simply self-defense. Mm-hmm. So, and obviously there's a question, when does it constitute self-defense and when isn't it self-defense? And there's not a clear line. It's a little bit of a gray area. Is this self-defense? Is that self-defense? Well, I don't know. How do we exactly define it and stuff? But so here you have a guy who, his ideology is as toxic and disgusting as it gets. It's literally as bad as it can get. Mm-hmm. In terms of the actions he's taking, though, as far as I know and as far as we know, he's never assaulted anybody. He's never raped anybody. He's never built a fucking camp that he wants to put people in. He's never committed any crime that we know of. So, as far as it goes, he just has a toxic and disgusting ideology. Mm-hmm. Given that that's the case, if you say, I think we should be able to punch him, then your standard is, I think we should punch anybody, or we should be allowed to punch anybody who has a really toxic and disgusting ideology. Mm-hmm. And
so you're almost worse than that guy in a sense.
I wouldn't say worse than that guy, but it's the same. You're admitting that you believe in offensive violence in some circumstances.
Yeah.
And if you believe in offensive violence, you could use whatever kind of rationalizations and justifications, and you could obfuscate in your own mind as much as you want, but you believe in offensive violence. And that's an authoritarian position. You might be on the left wing, and it's authoritarian, but you're authoritarian to some degree. Now, again, I don't think you're as bad as him because his ideology is so toxic, and he also believes in offensive violence. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to do an equivalence here, but what I am saying is, at least on that issue, and on that, when it comes to violence and when to use it, you don't have the actual principled position. Because, again, you're saying if somebody has a bad ideology, well, then you should be able to hit them. Now, think about that. Once you open that door, like you were alluding to there, well, okay, so if you can fuck him up because he has a bad ideology, that means that everybody on the so-called alt-right can be legitimately fucked up and they have it coming. So, okay, but then why even stop there? So why not neo-Confederates, people who live in the South who kind of believe in the Confederacy still? Mm-hmm. Why not fuck them up? Why stop there? Why not just racists? I mean, there are a lot of racists.
Or
and
Trump supporters, which we've
right.
seen.
These are really toxic. This is really toxic and grotesque ideologies and beliefs behind it. But if you're admitting, like, okay, that's my position, is any loathsome people, I think we should be able to fuck up and assault them. Well, then, okay, any loathsome person, go ahead, go fucking punch them and commit assault, but it's okay because it's moral because they have a toxic ideology. But then here's where it gets really, really bad. They don't have an answer for this basic problem. How do you account for the fact that to a Ted Cruz supporter, I'm somebody who has a loathsome ideology?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, they see you as like having bad opinions and ideas and all this stuff, right?
That's exactly right. By the way, how's your video feed right now? Because it looked like you were frozen for a second, but you're back now.
Oh, okay.
That's all right. It was weird, but anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, people are always going to disagree. That's why there's always fights, you know? But some fights are consensual and others are just, you can't just snuff somebody because you don't like what they say.
So, like, I guess that people would say, well, Kyle, that's different because they actually have a toxic ideology. You don't have a toxic ideology. So them hitting you is not legitimate because you don't have a toxic ideology. But the point is, once you legitimize that standard of I get to hit people who have a loathsome ideology, well, then not everybody shares the same values that we do. So to some people, I am that guy who has that toxic ideology. So then it's a free-for-all, and it's the slipperiest slippery slope of all time. Yeah. And I don't believe in using illiberal tactics in the service of liberalism because I think that's a contradiction. You know, I mean, I get at the West all the time for doing that. Like this is this is apparently what the rationalization was for Bush when he keeps people at Guantanamo Bay and tortured them and stuff. His argument was, look, you don't get it. They're so bad. These people are so bad that we have to act, we have to take away due process, take away habeas corpus, take away human rights, and hold them, you know, indefinitely because they're so bad, and torture them because they're so bad. But at what point do you become the monster you're trying to avoid? And why stop at assaulting? If you really believe that this guy, Richard Spencer, is as bad as Hitler, which a lot of people have said to me on Twitter when they were ripping me for a tweet I did where I was saying don't hit him. Yeah. Well, then why not kill him? If he's really as bad as Hitler, doesn't he deserve to fucking die? And if you say yes to that, follow your argument to its logical conclusion and say, I am in favor of murdering Richard Spencer, and furthermore, in favor of murdering the entire alt-right, because the alt-right, I mean, they all agree with his ideology. And like I said, he's not assaulting people. He hasn't actually done those things, so he just has that ideology. So anybody who has that ideology, you should be in favor of killing, which, let's face it, at the end of the day means you believe in thought crimes. So I think, like, you got to think about it if the shoe is on the other foot, and you have to think about it like, I feel like if there was a fundamentalist Muslim preacher, a Salafist preacher in the U.S. who was preaching all this garbage about how, you know, gays are evil and Jews are evil and, you know, women should be second-class citizens. I feel like that's when the standard would flip and the liberals would all of a sudden say, whoa, yeah, we hate the guy, he's terrible, but free speech. You got to have free speech. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't just assault this guy in the street. And that's when the right would say, no, let's assault this guy because he's so bad. And it's like, I got an idea. How about let's assault none of them? How about the only time you should use violence is in self-defense? Yeah. And that does mean, like, you know, whether it's self-defense on a personal level or self-defense for like a war. Like if a country's about to wage war on you, I get waging war to just, you know, do defense. But to me, that's the only standard that makes sense. And the test of one's principles is whether or not you can stick to them when the time is the toughest. And it is the toughest. When you hear about a guy like fucking Richard Spencer getting punched in the face on a very visceral level and a primitive level, I go, yeah, fuck that guy, yeah. But at the end of the day, that's a visceral and primitive level. And we're supposed to, on the left, we're supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to be more moral than that. And we're supposed to understand that the principles have to apply in the worst case scenarios, not just the best one. Everybody agrees, you know, about freedom of speech when people are saying mother is awesome and apple pie is delicious and rainbows are pretty. But you actually need the free speech for when it's the people are saying the worst things. You see what I'm saying?
You usually get people more mad and more upset, and even on a smaller level, when you don't react in like a physical way, you know? So if someone's coming at you and cursing at you and,
that's right.
You know, they get in an argument and it's road rage or something like that. And you tend to see when they're like pointing at you, cursing at you, and I do this a lot because I try not to let a lot affect me on the road or whatever. So like sometimes I'll do something stupid. I'll do that, drive all the way up and then merge in at the last second, and like you'll see the person behind you like what,
yeah.
And then like they'll pull up next to you and they'll keep doing all this shit, and you give them like a little just like, and then like that person, their rest of their day is ruined because they were like, I got no reaction out of this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And,
so that you're again making the next point, which I agree with, which is I think you handed them a PR win because
yep.
And it's not because people will sympathize with Richard Spencer, the neo-Nazi. It's because the overwhelming majority of the American people have no fucking clue who Richard Spencer is. Yep. So in their minds, all they saw was a Trump supporter in a suit who got punched by a left-wing thug who was too cowardly to even show his face.
Yeah.
So, and then Trump gets to go out there. Trump gets to go out there and say, law and order. I believe in law and order, and we need to clean up these streets. And now, even moderate, apolitical Americans hear that and they go, well, he's got a point. You can't just be punching people in the street. So, I think that it's just a win across the board for them. And I don't want that to happen. And I don't want left-wing goals in the long run to be, beat back because of shit like this. So
well, that's why I thought
go ahead.
The Women's March was such a great thing. You didn't really hear too many stories about looting, and it was just a lot of people just walking in the street fighting for their cause. And that's why I say it was like a perfect day because it was just positive. Everything was positive. You didn't hear any negative stories. But when you hear about some of the Black Lives Matter movements and stuff like that where like violence breaks out, or even at the inauguration when I don't know why they were doing it, but they were like breaking the glass of a Starbucks window or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Why? That just like you lose all credibility when you start breaking a fucking Starbucks window.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So property damage, I think, is in a slightly different category than the physical violence against a person, but I still agree with you by and large that it's mostly uncalled for. I can imagine certain scenarios where I actually would defend property damage as a protest. Yeah, so let me give you an example.
Like the Trump Tower?
No. So if President Trump at some point in his first term says we're going to war with Iran, mm-hmm. and that's what we're going to do, and my entire administration is for it, and we're gearing up right now, and we're going to use all these tanks that are in the Nevada desert, or all these military equipment that are in the Nevada desert. And we're gonna go in a month or something like that. Let's just all hypothetical here. But if that happens, and then a bunch of protesters go out there and they fuck up those tanks so you can't use them.
Oh yeah, if they're fucking up the stuff
that actually makes perfect sense because it's super targeted and it's a legitimate form of protest against a war that's just abysmal and wrong and dumb.
Yeah.
So.
But you'd be against if he said all that stuff and then in Washington they went to like a CVS and started.
Of course, because that's got nothing to do with it. This is the thing about riots that annoys me is, like, it's got to be, if you're attacking small businesses that have nothing to do with the injustice that was done against you, then you're not fixing the injustice. You're adding a whole new injustice to the problem.
Exactly.
So you can't fix injustice with more injustice. And this is where some people, again, on the left, lose me because I don't think they would accuse me of being a weak leftist. I think they're weak leftists because they're abandoning the things that they say they believe in, whereas we're trying to stick true to them. So
I look at those people as the weakest. And so this happened with my wife once. She was driving and she cut somebody off, and the guy gave her the finger, and she gave the finger back, and I was just like, you lose all credibility when you give the finger back. And I just have way more respect for people that have the ability to not just go and loot and do all this stupid shit, because it's just you have more, you have no values. I don't know.
Well, at the same time as that, I have to add, because this is something that Martin Luther King spoke about this in a bunch of speeches too. Mm-hmm. He said, look, I condemn the riots. At the same time, I understand where they're coming from, because a riot is the language, or a riot is the voice of the unheard. So when you keep perpetuating injustices against them and they keep bottling it up and bottling it up and bottling it up, at some point it all comes out. And they're like, fuck this. And then they start doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Now, again, my take on it is you should channel all that anger into something that will actually help us achieve what we want, as opposed to moving us in the wrong direction. but there is a sympathy there for what's happening. But this is a big debate that's been happening for a really long time as to what's the best way to bring about social change. You know, some people would argue, no, if you raise the most hell and cause the most chaos and, yes, do the most things that are wrong, well, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So you're going to make it so that that's what the news will cover. They will cover that. And if there's enough social unrest, eventually people in power go, all right, no mas, you tell me, what do you want? What do you want? I want you to stop doing this, so you tell me what you want and we'll give it to you. That's one philosophy. The other philosophy is the philosophy of nonviolent resistance, which is if for a really long time you have the moral high ground, keep the moral high ground, abide by your principles, and bear the brunt of brutality of the bad guys, well, eventually at a certain point, it's just too obvious who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, and you gain enough popular sympathy where you get social change in your direction. Those are the two different philosophies. Obviously, with Gandhi and MLK and Mandela, I think that philosophy is probably the most potent. But, you know, there are examples in history, I think, where a mix of them actually worked, where, unfortunately, it's sad to say, but unfortunately, people doing bad things led to people in power going, whoa, okay, all right, let's appease you. What do you want? Yeah. So I guess a mix can also be effective, but I'm certainly not on the side of only the negative course of action, the adding injustice on top of the other injustices. And again, this is something Martin Luther King Jr. said. He said, I don't just want to liberate the oppressed. I want to liberate the oppressors from the hate in their hearts. And I thought, damn, like this is a guy who's saying, I'm not trying to mirror the tactics of the savages who are keeping us down. I'm trying to rise above it all and not just make life better for the oppressed, but also for the oppressor, because they gotta. I mean, if they hate as much as they hate, they're broken too. Something's wrong inside of them.
Exactly.
So now I maybe part from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or maybe not. Maybe he agrees with me. I don't know. In the sense that I think some people are probably beyond rehabilitation, and you're not going to convince every racist in the country or every fucking neo-Nazi in the country to not be that anymore.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think that philosophy of taking the high road allows you to keep the moral high ground, and you can make the argument better. Like, it's hard. I'm not going to defend things I can't fucking defend. So if you want to loot a small business after an injustice is done, okay, I still agree that there was an injustice done against you, but I don't think the remedy to that is to do another injustice, a different injustice. So, but that's just my take on it, and some people would disagree. But anyway.
No, you make a good point. I think it comes to, I don't know, I was listening to a Bruce Springsteen podcast, and he sort of had like a fucked up childhood, like his father was abusive or something like that, and never really like paid him attention and moved away and stuff like that. And he had the same ideas that you were saying. Like he channeled all of his negative like thoughts and all the negativity around him that he had from his father beating him, all this stuff. And he was like, I channeled all that energy towards like music, and that's why my music was so powerful and strong and all this stuff. So like, I think you make a great point where it's just like if people are channeling that in like the right areas and not in like negative, stupid stuff by like looting, doing all
and
bad
also
things.
Historically, you're never gonna win if you try to use violence against the most violent and brutal system that's there. So when you talk about the U.S. government or you talk about apartheid South Africa, you're not gonna outgun the people with the most guns. You're not going to outfight the people that have a monopoly on violence, the state. So you can't win on that battlefield. It's like when the Democrats say, oh, we're going to take money from Wall Street because the Republicans take a lot of money from Wall Street, so that they're bad for doing it, but we're going to do it because we're good, but we're going to do the same thing and try to... It's like, okay, but guess what? No matter what, they're always going to be even bigger sellouts than you are. Even if you raise 80% of what they raise... You're setting up a system where you're permanently going to lose because you never raise as much. And then I haven't even brought up the obvious flaw, which is you're going to mirror the tactics of the people who are wrong, and you still think you're better somehow.
I thought of Robin Hood when you said that, because basically he's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but he's still stealing. So it's like you're doing a good thing, but you're stealing still.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Is that sort of similar to like what you're trying to say?
I mean, I guess so, but so
like the good people are like, we're going to steal, but we're going to do it in the right way, and it's like, no, you're still stealing.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The only thing I'd add on top of that is with Robin Hood, like, to me, I look at the Robin Hood story and I go, oh, so he's just doing what the government should have been doing anyway. Because, so it's still wrong that he's doing it, but it's the whole idea of a civilized society is to have a social contract and to have taxation, and you should actually tax the rich more than you should tax the poor.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a parallel there. I just don't know how strong the parallel is because the rich shouldn't have as much money as they do. Speaking of that, random side point here, did you see there was a report that came out this week. The richest 8 people in the world have more wealth than the bottom 3.6 billion combined.
Jesus.
So the richest 8 people have more than 50% of the world.
I thought I heard something that there was like 5 people in Trump's cabinet or something like that had like a huge portion of more money than poor people.
That's probably true. He picked a bunch of billionaires. There's a bunch of billionaires with him. There's some that are billionaires, some that are multimillionaires. It's the richest cabinet in history. Bernie Sanders was ripping him for this the other day.
It's so absurd. Bernie Sanders is such a G. I was watching him talk to the DeVos lady or whatever her name was.
Yeah, fuck her.
Oh, and he was just like, do you know how much money you donated to you and your family? And she was like, I don't know.
200 million.
Well, yeah, 200 million. He was like, and just straight out gangster was just like, would you be in this position if you didn't donate all that money?
Yeah.
The fact that people don't see that, like, it's just, it's an
oligarchy. That's what he's saying.
Scary.
He says that people fear that it's an oligarchy, and you gave $200 million to the Republicans. You gave about $10 million to Trump's campaign alone. That's why the fuck you're here. It's an oligarchy, government of, by, and for the rich. And these people don't care about you and me. They just want this position. And they also, in the case of Trump's picks, it's not just that they don't care about us, but whatever, they'll do the job and they'll do it somewhat competently. No, with DeVos, for example, she wants to go in the wrong direction. She's supposed to be the head of public schools. She doesn't even believe in public schools. Yeah. She's never been to a public school. She never sent her kids to a public school. She openly gives tremendous amounts of money to private schools. She's a Christian fundamentalist. I mean, she wants to remake the United States into the Christian version of Saudi Arabia.
And she thinks grizzly bears are worse than machine guns.
She said, she was asked, do you think guns in school are okay? And she basically gave a Sarah Palin-like answer. Well, see, the problem is that sometimes in Nebraska there could be grizzlies, so you need guns to protect from the grizzlies. And then so she was referring to one anecdotal story, by the way, and then the person who said that story came out and was like, yeah, that actually didn't happen. I was just talking shit.
I watched who was Trevor Noah or something like that, and he was like, we called that school, and they said just to get rid of the bears, we just used bear spray.
And a fence, a fucking bear spray and a fence. Like, what are you saying? And they don't, like, basic logic on something like this, man. It's just, there's been so many studies. The more guns there are, the more gun violence there is. It's not that difficult. So when you have guns all over the place, you're going to have more gun violence because there are more guns all over the place. So in schools, they're saying now, let's have guns. Yeah. Fucking schools, man. That's like absurd. The one place where you would think, no, okay, here, no, let's do away with that here. But they're like, fuck it, let's do schools too.
I can't, like, that just blows my mind. Like a third grade like teacher, some girl who just graduated. Like, you're gonna put a gun in her hands and think that she can be like some like Hollywood movie, like sniping people that come through the doors and like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I was just about to take a sip of my drink, but I'm going to be accused of being a sellout if I do. So I'm going to dip out of the screen to sip it. You know what my drink is. Everybody out there listening knows what my drink is. But I'm not going to say it because I'm not a goddamn sellout. I feel like that was a joke originally, but now like half the people believe it. Like at the beginning, everybody was joking around like, oh, sellout. And they were just fucking around.
I like that. Seltzer.
What? Oh, don't say it. Now they're going to say
it. My bad.
I'm not. I'm drinking orange soda like Kel from Keenan and Kel, goddammit.
You know what I thought about today? So you're like, if you like some shit, you like it. So I went to
That's true.
I read someone's comments last week, so whoever the fuck said it, I'm gonna fuck them up. That I looked tired, so I was like, all right, this morning I'm gonna get a coffee, I'm gonna get like a bagel, and be good. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts, and the first thing I thought of, do you know what I'm thinking of?
There's two things you could be thinking of, and I'm gonna nail it with one of them.
Yeah.
You're either thinking about the bagel with strawberry cream cheese.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because that was your shit.
Yeah, hell yeah. I haven't had that in forever.
Like my cream cheese just has to be plain. And there's some bagel spots in New York City that some stuff shouldn't be fucked with. Like cream cheese should just be cream cheese, in my opinion. I don't know. Some people like scallions.
So no strawberry on it?
It was too sweet for me. I remember you tried putting me on, and I had it, and I was like, "This is good," but I just like that shit. Like
so, the one you had, because there was one time I went to a Dunkin' Donuts and they did the bagel with strawberry cream cheese, but they put like literally like chopped up strawberries in there or some shit. Did you have that, or was it the one that I had?
I had the one that you had.
Okay, so the pink one. It was pink cream cheese.
Dumb artificial, just like.
And you didn't like it.
It's not that I didn't like it, but it was like too like sweet for me for my bagel.
Yeah,
like,
you just wanted a bagel with cream cheese, but you had a bagel with strawberry cream cheese, and you're like, "Where's my fucking bagel with cream cheese?"
Yeah, people get too crazy. Like I know someone who does like a bacon, egg, and cheese, and they put avocado on it.
Oh, stop it! I mean, wait. To be fair to that guy, though, like at first, when I first had a bacon, egg, and cheese, and then somebody recommended, why don't you do salt, pepper, and ketchup on it? I was like, what the fuck? Why would I put ketchup on this? That's so stupid.
Yeah.
But then when I put ketchup on it, I was like, oh, this is great.
It's a game changer.
But avocado,
I guess you gotta get introduced to it.
It's like trying to be a little healthy on top of the not too healthy.
Well, it's sort of like what we do at McDonald's. Like we always used to just get our burgers or get our chicken sandwiches, and then we started throwing some fries on that bitch, and it's like,
oh no! Ever since you put me onto that, I've never not done it. I haven't
I
haven't had a burger since you showed me that. And by the way, I'm like mad at myself for never having thought about it. I was looking at you when you first did it, like, yo, is this allowed? Like, are you breaking a law or something here? But you're putting the fries on the burger, and then once I saw you do it and I tried it, I haven't had a burger since without it. Yeah. I've always put the fries on the burger.
Half of my fries, because I'll always go value fries off the dollar menu, and it's like half of them go onto my burger, and like I'll stack it on there.
Yeah, no.
And I've been to like gourmet burger shops, and I've seen like hash browns on burgers. I've seen all different types of like some potato variation, but I've never seen anybody just say like we're gonna put fries on your burger.
No, I know, and that's why I was like, this guy's a genius. How the fuck did he come up with this? This is genius. It's the most obvious thing ever, because you get a burger and fries. And it's sitting right there, but nobody ever thinks, let me put that on that. And it's so great.
Shit that people probably do. Like if someone would be like, what else is there? There's I was at McDonald's once. I don't do this, but someone was like, let me get a chicken sandwich, throw cheese on it. And I was like,
that's genius.
Shit.
Genius.
Like I wouldn't do it, but the fact that like
somebody does
it's something a lot of people would do.
Yeah.
And
you gotta switch it up.
Like sort of knew, was like, okay, yeah, that's something we do.
You gotta switch it up. I've heard people do special sauce on a McChicken. I was like, maybe I gotta give that a shot.
But bunch of shit.
For everybody listening now, two things you have to try: the fries on the burger, and I bet like 50% of people are gonna be like, "You fucking idiot! We already figured that out."
We've been doing that since idiot.
I've always done that. And then the other thing is, even though Corin was so on it, you got to try the bagel with strawberry cream cheese, man. I mean,
Dunkin' Donuts is kind like
Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. Don't go to a regular bagel shop, because they'll literally like chop up fucking strawberries and put it on the cream cheese. You gotta get the artificial pink cream cheese, which I fucking love. I thought it was delicious.
We're not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
No, I'm not sponsored. I'm just an asshole who ends up saying what I think, and I obviously eat at these places. So what are you gonna do?
But then there's people that like they'll be like, oh, you gotta dip your potato chips in ketchup, and I'm like, nah.
I haven't tried that. That doesn't sound too good. But then again, like I said with the bacon, egg, and cheese, I was like, there's no way putting ketchup on this is going to be a good move. And then I did, and I was like, oh, okay. I see where you're coming from. I see what you did here.
It's a game changer.
So we got to talk about Keith Olbermann. We were texting about this last night. So I watched Mar this week. You watched Mar this week.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I thought he was a little rusty.
Mar or Olbermann?
Well, Mar to start. Just like, I don't know. I saw him also he was doing like his promotional tour because he was coming back on. I saw him on Jimmy Kimmel. Mm. He didn't seem like on it, you know? Like, I don't know if he was super high or something like that, but like
he's probably always high.
Yeah, he definitely was high. But he had some stale moments that even the crowd, like he was waiting for them, and then he gives them that like,
like laugh, do it.
Yeah.
That gets a little weird. I mean, it is kind of a strange thing. Doing public speaking, I feel like I've been lucky because every time I've done public speaking so far, it's gotten reactions. But I don't know what I'd do if it didn't. Like I gave your brother was your best man at your wedding, so he gave the speech. That was the first wedding I've ever been at where I wasn't a best man. So I had to do for two of my other close friends. I was at the wedding and I did, the best man speech. And as I was writing it, I was thinking maybe it'll be funny, maybe it won't be funny, but either way, I'm talking from the heart and telling like true stories and shit. So whatever, we'll see what happens. I got, especially for one of them, man, I felt like a stand-up comedian. It was fucking great. I love the feeling. I've like finally understood what stand-up comedians feel when you got you have the audience. Yeah. They are locked into everything you're saying live. Like I know what we're doing now, people are listening and they're following along and stuff, but it's definitely different when you're in front of the people. So you're in front of them, and what I found interesting was
the reactions a little bit too.
Certain things that I thought would get a laugh didn't get a laugh. Certain things that I didn't think would get a laugh got a laugh. And I was like, oh, that's what made you laugh? That's interesting. So, but apparently if you talk to actual comedians, they say the same thing. Like, yeah, sometimes you don't know exactly which thing it is, and then you get...
Well, that's what I was listening to. You put me onto Joey Diaz, and I was listening to him on...
so awesome.
He's an awesome storyteller. Like, oh, yeah. And that's sort of... I listened to one of his comedy bits, and it's just him telling, like, sort of stories of shit that, like, he's been through everything.
I actually like him more on podcasts than his stand-up. Because he's more super duper high energy in his stand up, and I'm like, tone it down a little bit, dog. Because when you just talk like yourself, everybody's listening. I can't not listen when you talk like yourself. But
So let me just say real quick. So he was saying, and I was going to ask you after if you've done this. He was like, I used to have the hardest time because he was doing a special or whatever they do, 2-hour special or something, and he was like, I never listened to any of my stand up after. And he was like, when I would tell my jokes, I thought, my punchline would be here. And I never even thought that a setup like 2 sentences before was so important to that setup. He said, so at night, I forced myself to listen to myself. And that's how I got better. And I read reactions and stuff like that. But he hates doing it.
Yeah.
And So I was going to see if you, like, when you give your speeches, you could sort of read the audience a little bit and be like, all right, I'm flowing right now. And you sort of get smoother. But when you do your live show, you don't have like an audience there. So for you, it's tougher probably to see.
Okay, I actually like that aspect of it more because...
Oh, really?
I talk so much every week, and if I had to be on the receiving end of an audience every show, there's no way I'm going to get the good reaction every single show. So I'd rather not have to worry about that aspect of it, the instant gratification and the, for a comedian, it's harder. You have to make people laugh every few X amount of time, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not what I do. I'm a political commentator and a news guy, and I'm like infotainment, even though I hate that fucking word. So I don't have to do that, and I like that more. But I also don't.
But you want to see what works and what doesn't work. So I mean, it's probably harder to decipher, like when you're reading comments or hearing feedback from people, like. One guy's going to say it works, the other person is going to say it sucks, and then you got to decide for yourself, which ultimately you were doing originally, what works and what doesn't work.
I think the difference is for what I do, whether or not it works doesn't even matter. Like, it's incidental if it works or doesn't work in terms of the effect it has, because the more important thing is just making the point that I'm trying to make. You know what I mean? Whereas with a comedian, the end goal is I need to get this visceral thing, laughter from you. For me, it's no, I just have to make this point about how shitty... the Democrats are, the Republicans are, and even if it doesn't land in the way where you're getting maximum entertainment value, you're going to get maximum fact value out of it, and you're going to understand where I'm coming from, or at least that's what I'm trying to do. But I also, at times, really hate listening to myself because when you hear anything so much, you go, ugh. Like the sound of my voice, and I'm like, how does anybody listen to this shit? Because I had to hear it so much. I mean, I have an editor now for some shows, but it's not every show, so that means I still have to do some editing and stuff. And yeah, it gets tiring. You don't want to. I mean, I get people wanting to listen to it for the sake of learning what the thing is I'm talking about. At times, I'm like, I don't know why you'd want to hear the other things, because but that's just because I'm on system overload. It's like, okay, I've heard myself talk so much.
Yeah, but that's how it is with anything. I mean, people do that with pictures. Like, they see themselves in a picture and they're like, oh, I look so terrible. And it's like, they look at themselves every single day. So it's like, they know flaws about them or something. And then like, you show me a picture and I'm like,
that's fine. That just looks like you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's chilling. Like, that's what's up.
No, it's funny you say that because recently I had to get my driver's license renewed. And So I went to the DMV, and I wasn't sure when I got there if I was going to take a new picture. Because the picture was from when I was 21, I think, which is not that long ago. And it looks it's me. It looks like me. So whatever. But when I was there, the person was like, "Oh, you want to do a new picture?" I was like, "How long would that take?" It was like, "Yeah, just go right there. There's no line. Just go do it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I walked up and I took the picture. Now, they have a camera that's fixed where we live in Westchester, the DMV around me where I went. And so it's fixed, and it's for, it's low, like you're taking a picture of somebody who's 5'2". Like it's a super low camera angle. And
is it your whole head though, or is it one of those where you're like all the way back like this?
Kind of like that, like all the way
that's
back.
Weird though.
So okay, but it's even worse than what it sounds like, because anybody who's like a photographer or who just knows about this stuff, the camera angle stuff, that generally speaking, the good angle is from above your head, like a little above your head. Because what that does is it gives your jaw a more defined line, and it just makes you look more structured and put together, and that's just a better angle. When you go low, even if the person doesn't have like a thick neck or a double chin or anything, you can make it look like they do if you go sufficiently low enough with the angle, because you're looking up directly at the fucking chin. So they took a picture of me. It was like the camera was like all the way down here. I smile. I honestly thought like I had dressed like, well, maybe I'll take a picture that day. So I dressed like nice. I wore a button-down shirt. I was like, okay. And then when I looked at the picture, I was like, that is literally the worst picture I've ever taken in my life. It is like the ugliest. I look like I have 8 fucking chins. It's disgusting. And then I told them, when I went up to the different counter, they were like, "Oh, do you want to do the new picture?" I was like, "No, wrong. You're wrong." So they left the old picture.
Accept the picture or not?
Well, they asked me. They were like, "Oh, did you take a new picture?" Because there was a little sheet they give you where, "Oh, give them that if you want to do the new picture." I was like, "No, keep the old picture." But I am pissed because they didn't change. I had wrote in my height when I was 21 was 5'11". Now I'm 6 feet. And I wrote in 6 feet, but they left it 5'11". I was like, fuck you. That's all right. It's no big deal.
They have so much power at the DMV that, like, you can't even change anything.
Or they just don't care. They're like, fuck
They
you.
don't give a fuck because they're just, like, lazy, but they're also, like, assholes, too, where if you try to change something, they're just like, next.
Well, that's the thing. If, the next time I renew my license, when I'm obviously much, much older and I'm no longer anywhere near 21, and I kind of need a new picture, I'm thinking of going like kind of upstate New York, because upstate New York, they literally will take a camera and take a picture of you and ask you if you like it, because like -8 people are even there.
Yeah.
So that's the way to do it. My friend's wife recently got a picture of the DMV, and she went up north. And it was like the best picture ever.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I took like 4 of them or 5 of them, and they just aimed it however I wanted, and it was good. So
yeah.
that's
I got lucky. I had to get a new ID when I came out to Illinois, and it was like, it was in the frame. It was good. It was my head. Like, it was like a good shot. But then I've seen, it's so funny when you ask anyone to see their ID, because everyone is just like, oh, don't look at my photo.
Yeah,
because
it's so
to
bad.
your point, that's a good point. It probably depends on, like, if they're from like New York City or something.
Yeah.
They're usually probably like, oh, you don't want to see it.
Fixed angle, yeah.
Bad angle or something. But if someone's from upstate or something like that, they're probably proud to show off their ID because they had like a fucking professional photo shoot.
Yeah, or you could just take a bunch. I mean, it's very, like, they kind of tried to rush you, even though nobody was there when I went at the DMV around here. But anyway, we got Olbermann. Sorry, we deviated. So Olbermann goes on Bill Maher's show. And I used to like Keith Olbermann because he was the guy who, during the Iraq War, he would come out and give his special comments and talk about how it's a misguided war and it's a wrong war, Mr. President, and this is why it's wrong. And you'd get the sense that you're listening to something that's like genuine, principled and right, and so you liked it. Even though he came across as a little abrasive, but whatever. I mean, I'm fucking abrasive too. It doesn't, who cares? So, but then, like, recently, so we started doing political commentary for GQ, and I watched a few of his videos. The first few, I'm like, okay.
Which I saw that, by the way. When did GQ start doing politics?
I don't know. It's strange. It's whatever. But either way, so then I started seeing newer videos. Oh, God, what did you just say, Keith? Then you start seeing the next one. Oh, stop saying that. And then now he's at the point where he's lost his fucking mind. It's just partisan garbage. So, like, he was out there on Mar and saying, Donald Trump it was a coup d'etat by Russia, and Donald Trump is the installed president, the puppet president of Vladimir Putin. And that's just hacky and factually wrong and dumb, and you're actually going to help Trump because normal people are going to go, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
why would you say that? And it smells the same as when like Mitch McConnell and fucking John Boehner would question the legitimacy of President Obama and say, oh, you're Kenyan and you're Muslim and you're this and you're that. And it's the same kind of blind obstruction that makes no sense. So the answer isn't just to obstruct Donald Trump. On many issues, you do have to obstruct him. But it's also to hold him accountable. And that's what Bernie Sanders does. Bernie Sanders went on, the floor of the Senate and was like, look at what you said about Medicare and Medicaid and how you're not going to cut it. I'm going to hold you to that. Don't you dare fucking cut it. You were right when you said this shit. We're going to make you do that. You said Big Pharma is getting away with murder. Well, we're going to hold you to that, and we're going to make sure that, this is the policy you push for. So you said infrastructure, no TPP. So Bernie Sanders is like, here are the good things you said. We were going to make you do this. And if you want to work with us on this, great. Mm-hmm. Here are the bad things you said. We will obstruct you tooth and nail. Guys like Olbermann are just like, I'm going to obstruct everything. So now he's like a knee-jerk reactionary guy. And if Donald Trump came out for single-payer healthcare tomorrow, Keith Olbermann would do a special comment about how single-payer is horrific. So he's just a hack, and I'm realizing that now, and it's really sad because, especially with the Russia thing, like
I sort of thought he was. I mean, like, war isn't war anymore, and he said something like we're in a it was a war.
Yeah, and that's dangerous fucking talk, and that's not true.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, like,
not
I don't
know what's going on with Russia, but like,
so I'll explain it, and that's why I'm trying to get to how he's such a hack here. So with Russia, there were all these headlines in the press. Russia hacks U.S. election. Russia hacks election. Russia hacks election. When anybody reads that and doesn't read the article, what do they think? Oh my God, Russia hacked our voting machines and turned the election over to Trump because they want Trump. That's the impression that was left in everybody's, brain from reading that. Mm-hmm. So it turns out when you actually read the details, it's not that they hacked the election. That's a really misleading headline. The strongest claim being made, and it's only being made by our intelligence agencies with no evidence whatsoever. And again, I read the entire report released by our intelligence agencies, and there was nothing in there. It was ridiculous. But the strongest claim they make is maybe Russia hacked the DNC and gave the DNC emails over to WikiLeaks, and then WikiLeaks ran with the emails. Now, what was in those emails? What was in those emails is how they kind of tipped the scales against Bernie Sanders from the beginning, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz was colluding with the media, and
She gave Hillary questions and shit.
Yeah, Donna Brazile gave Hillary questions, and so there was a lot of newsworthy stuff in there, and we should have seen it anyway, and stuff in the DNC and in the RNC and in campaigns in general should be part of transparency, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. So that was like a very vital, important leak for the sake of things the public needs to know about how the sausage is made and how they really kind of rigged the primary against Bernie from the beginning. Rigged is a strong word, but really tipped the scales against him from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So it was newsworthy, and we should have seen it. Now the Democrats act like that doesn't exist, like the substance of the emails don't exist. And they say just the fact that Russia maybe did the hacking and gave it to WikiLeaks means, they want war. The reason why they would do that is Donald Trump has said on the issue of Syria, I don't want to be really involved there, and let's kind of pull out. Hillary Clinton is actively on the side of the rebels in Syria. Vladimir Putin is on the side of the government, Assad, the Syrian government. So for Trump to say, let's not be involved there, that's basically saying to Vladimir Putin, for better or worse, hey man, you do whatever the fuck you want to do. You want to bomb ISIS, you want to be an asshole, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. We're not going to fuck with you there. Also, when it comes to NATO, Trump has made some comments on NATO like, maybe we need to renegotiate NATO. NATO is right now on the border of Russia, and Russia views that as an act of aggression. So in his mind, he goes, well, why wouldn't I support the person who wants to lower tensions, get the NATO troops off our border? And I'm not saying Putin's a good guy. He's not a good guy.
Yeah.
But it's a perfectly logical thing to want the person who's not as hawkish against you in power. Now, that doesn't mean he should actually hack an election. That doesn't mean, the DNC should up their security, our government should up their cybersecurity and all that stuff. But the idea that this is an act of war and Trump is a Putin-installed president. No, what happened is the leaks got out there. They made Hillary Clinton and the DNC look corrupt because they are fucking corrupt. And so Donald Trump won a real election. Hillary Clinton got the popular vote, but it's not like the Clinton team didn't know the rules going into it. It's not like they didn't know we don't have a popular vote system. She didn't go to, fucking Wisconsin and Minnesota, and there were states that were assumed to be part of the Democratic firewall that she was like, I'm just not going to go there, not going to campaign. And then she fucking lost those states. So that's on her. Hillary Clinton lost because of Hillary fucking Clinton. But now you have these weak, gross apologists who... Hillary has done no wrong. The DNC has done no wrong. The Democrats are always the best, and they're always beautiful, and they didn't fuck up in any way. And it's all because Vladimir Putin put in Donald Trump, and Russia did a coup d'etat. And if you believe that, you're an idiot, and you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're somebody who's not a serious political thinker. And here's the most important part. For guys like Keith Olbermann, it's not about policy. He doesn't care about single-payer healthcare. He doesn't care about making the minimum wage a living wage. He doesn't care about universal education. He's just a partisan. That's it. I'm on Team Democrat, and I want them to win. Okay, well, what if they get in there and they don't do any of the things that they promised to do on the campaign trail? I don't care. We won. I'm Team Democrat. That's the end of the conversation. I'm just against the Republicans. That's my whole political ideology could be defined as against the Republicans. And that's gross, and that's fucking...
It's the worst way to look at it. It's like...
And I don't want that guy on my team. I don't want him on my team because he makes us look stupid because he is fucking stupid. He's just a hack. That's all he is. And I used to like him, so it hurts me to say it. But when he was giving those speeches against Bush, I assumed... oh, you're doing it because you actually are against the war and it's like a principled thing. No, he was just against him because he's against Republicans, full stop. Again, if Trump came out tomorrow and said, let's do Medicare for all, Keith Olbermann would find a reason to say no.
Yeah, well, he's more mainstream now. And, it goes to like the bigger problem. It's like even at like Alcohol's Anonymous, like the first step is admitting that you have a problem. Like the Democrats have not admitted that they have a problem.
That's right.
It's like your problem was Hillary Clinton. Like just admit it.
Yeah, the corporate wing of the party. That's the problem.
Yeah, like say there's stuff that's broken. You don't always just point the finger at someone else because it's just like you'll never see that there's a problem. If every time something comes to you, you're just like, nope, well, that's because of this guy. And it's like, okay, but what about this? It's like, no, she didn't. It's because of that. And it's
right,
just like,
exactly.
Like, shut the fuck up. Like,
yes.
Like, it's right in front of you. This is why it happened. Just admit that, and then you maybe get a little bit some credibility from people. If you're just like, stop sugarcoating shit and be like, Hillary's amazing. There's nothing wrong with her. She's such an icon. It's like, no, there's some shit she fucked up on. Admit that.
It's deflection and it's obfuscation, and it's even worse than that because not only are they like doing that, they're like doubling down and tripling down on that. So like Cory Booker, for example, all the fawning articles, what he did is he spoke out against Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions, Trump's pick for attorney general.
Yeah.
He's kind of a famous, well-known racist, and he says good people don't smoke marijuana. He's one of the most conservative members of the Senate. So Cory Booker's like, oh, I'm going to be so brave here and speak out against him. Opposing Jeff Sessions should be easy. It's like the most obvious layup of all time. But he goes, no, this is historic because I'm a sitting senator testifying against another sitting senator, and that apparently hasn't happened maybe ever. You have to go back to the 1860s or some shit for it. So, okay, good. I'm happy that you did that. Thank you very much. Then the next day, or the day after that, it was either the next day or 2 days later, he goes and he votes in favor of a bill, or he votes against an amendment that Bernie Sanders proposed, which would have imported cheaper drugs from Canada. So he voted to keep the price of pharmaceutical drugs, which people need, super expensive so they can't fucking afford it. And then he's going to go out there and act like, oh, I'm this strong Democrat, this strong progressive. You're a fucking sellout, man.
Yeah.
He's an absolute sellout. And then come to find out, why did he vote like that? Because he took $300,000 from the pharmaceutical industry, and the pharmaceutical industry is one of the biggest industries in New Jersey, the state he's from, so he's just a massive sellout, and he's trying to pull the wool over your eyes and lie to you about it. He's trying to make you think, oh, I'm this. No, you're not. You're a fucking wolf in sheep's clothing. And now with the internet, we see through you, and your ambitions for president are done. We're not interested in your garbage. And all this long rant leads me to this point, which I can't give too much away on, but tomorrow there's a big announcement about this coming out. Something that I've been working on with a bunch of other people behind the scenes about the direction of the Democratic Party. And we're done playing.
You running for president?
No, I'm not old enough. I'm done. We're done playing, man. We're done playing.
Is there an age limit to run for president?
35, I think, is the minimum age to run for president.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I think it's 35.
Olbermann's probably just too mainstream now, and like to that point of like GQ and not knowing what it is, he's probably just trying to get attention and like just saying stupid shit now. He's at a point in his career where it's just like, I've done all my fighting, I've done all this. I'm just gonna say controversial shit.
I know people who know him, and they say he's crazy. Like,
oh really?
Like legitimately fucking.
Like how so?
Nuts.
Like he thinks he's like
in every sense of the word. Like,
really?
Like, oh, I'm going to come work for you. Here are my demands. I need a limo every single day. I need this. I need that. I need people not to say good morning to me. I need all the like.
He seems high maintenance. Even when he was on ESPN for like a hot minute, after he was on ESPN for a long time, he did some show where it was like the middle of Times Square, and like everything had seemed like it was just thought about, and he like would throw the papers at the end, and it was just like so strict and to the book that it was to a thing where it was like he probably does need like a cup of coffee at this location of his desk at this time, and it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like it's like
you actually made the point last night about this. You said, you know, you were saying he's perfected his announcer voice over all these years.
Yeah,
like I've been working on the way that I talk. Like,
he's almost like an Alex Rodriguez, where it's just like people don't like him because he's like a robot. He's just so, you know, and that's why when he tripped on stage, it was just weird and awkward. But like he sort of was like, let
me do my fake bow.
Like where anybody else would just be like, oh fuck, man, what's up with your stage? Like just be like normal about it. He's just so robotic, and to your point, he probably does do weird shit, like have people suck him off in a certain location before his show.
That would make him more normal. No, kidding.
I thought Mars New Rules was good last night, though. It had me laughing a little bit.
I don't remember what it was. I might have missed New Rules.
He was talking about how most of the people who voted for Trump, like let's call them what they are, is just like drug users, and spoke to them for a while because like it was like the liberals did this first, so let us show you how to do this correctly.
I gotta watch it. I don't think I saw it, but that sounds interesting.
Most of their voters are heroin users and all these weird people.
I got to check that out because I didn't see that, but it sounds interesting, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, it was good.
What are your thoughts on, like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I don't like alcohol as much. What do you think of that?
It's weird because I mean, I enjoy having some beers so last night our gym had like a 3-year anniversary party, and I had some beers, and it's sort of like I have better conversations obviously when I have a little bit more alcohol in me.
Yeah, loosens you up a little bit.
Yeah, so I was like getting deep with the owner of the gym. He was like, he'd been working at his company for like 40 years or something like that. And I feel like the conversation we had wouldn't have been as good if I didn't have like a couple Coronas in me. Like we started talking about how, you know, before my new job, my old job, I was like had a very flexible schedule, and you know, it sort of opened my eyes to life about seeing what goes on during the day as opposed to what goes on at night. And like in mid conversation, I was like, damn it, like if I didn't have like these few beers to get me loose a little bit, like this conversation would just be awkward as fuck. So like it's weird that I depended on that. I don't depend on beer to have a good time. I could still talk to people, but it sort of enhances the conversation. So I look at it as a positive if you don't OD on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Yeah, because it does. I mean, it has the same effect on somebody as like a Xanax or any kind of anti-anxiety pill would. So it's going to loosen you up. It works on the same receptors of the brain. So it's going to loosen you up to make you flow better and kind of tap into the conversation more. And
yeah,
and when you don't have
why
that,
do you think like even with like Bill Maher or something, like he smokes weed because it makes him feel good, and I'm sure he has a better time with his friends when he's smoking weed.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I'm not judging it, but I don't think alcohol is my substance of choice. You know, I don't know. It's, to me, I always felt when I drink, I get more of it's more of like a sloppy intoxication than other versions of an intoxication. Like if I took an Adderall pill, I would dominate the world in a week and a half.
Yeah, no.
Because it makes me focus and it makes me really talkative. I mean, I'm already fucking talkative, but it makes me even more talkative, and I can like really... I'm really shitty. You could ask Lilith about this. For, you know, Lilith's secular talk, all the shit she does behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really shitty at dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but if you give me Adderall, I could probably dot the I's and cross the T's really well.
You just get more focused in?
Yeah. So, like, a substance like that, I like more because it's a more focused, thing.
See, I
don't know why with alcohol, it just, I feel more sloppy now when I have it. and so it's not my favorite substance. And it's also weird how they're like good drunks and bad drunks, you know?
Exactly.
Like there's some people who can drink and they just literally get angry and it's scary and it's creepy and it's weird. It's like, well, why are you angry? Because I was drinking, but why would that make you angry?
Or depressed, and it's
or
just
anything.
like even weirder.
And then there are happy drunks. Oh, look, I had, worked on the happiness chemicals in my brain, and boom, now I'm here talking to you, and it's going better, smoother conversations, like you were saying, yada yada. It's weird how that works, how substances affect people in a different way. Because I would imagine there are people out there who would say the polar opposite of what I'm saying, like, oh no, if I take an Adderall, forget it. I'll be in a ditch somewhere after sucking off a rhinoceros. But you can focus on it. I suck off rhinoceros. What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
So
it's strange. I mean, everybody reacts differently to whatever they do. Like I've never taken Adderall. I'm a little bitch when it comes to like taking a pill or something like that. But like,
well, I'm a bitch. Snorting, I would never do. Snorting, I wouldn't do. Well, I mean, I've done it once, or a few times.
That's what Joe Diaz was saying. He was like, I've hung around people who've done coke and all this stuff. And he was like, once I saw someone put a needle in their arm, I was like, oh, I'm out of here. Like
he's scared of needles.
Yeah, he's like
it's really
shit
funny.
scared of needle.
Yeah.
But like, if you get to that point in your life, it's sort of a wrap for you.
Well, that's interesting because, there was this documentary. I admittedly didn't watch it, but I saw like previews for it and stuff, and it was really interesting because apparently, like, yeah, there are the idea like the cokehead or something, or the fucking heroin addict or something. We all think of the same thing. The guy like in a dark alley with tattered clothes, with like dirt on their face and shit, and yellow teeth, and like blisters on their skin, and oh, your life is just going terrible. But in the documentary I saw, didn't see, but I saw the previews of, there were like professionals wearing suits and ties going to work, and like in the morning they would shoot up heroin, and then they'd go to work, and then they'd come home, and they'd have one more thing of heroin at night, and then they'd go to sleep, and then they'd wake up and do it again. And they'd keep it together. They kept it together. And like I know that that's the case. So for cocaine, for example, I know that's the case. Like, there are plenty of people who do coke who still keep it together, and if anything, they're more productive because it's a really upper drug. It's like taking coffee plus euphoria times a million. Yeah. So,
well, even with weed, some of the smartest kids I knew in high school used to smoke weed all the time.
Right.
And like, there's nothing wrong with weed, but like,
But my point is, maybe it's like that with the other drugs too, and we just have that limited thing where the propaganda is so strong that we think, no, obviously if you do heroin, it's a wrap for your life. Obviously if you do cocaine, it's a wrap for your life. And I'm not promoting these things by any stretch, but what I am saying is perhaps it's more nuanced than the picture that's been given to us of, like, that's it, your life is over if you do it. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. And I always think of that thing that Dr. Carl Hart said, who's an expert on addiction and substances. He was like, 80% of all drug users are moderate users. Now, that means that 20% are not, which means 20% are addicted and they have problems, and I feel bad for those people, and they should get rehab and help, and I'm all on team, help them from a medicinal perspective. But the 80% of people, I don't want to punish them. Like, if they like doing whatever they do, like, okay, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to judge you. It's just weird how we all have that thing on some level of like, oh, like this person does that drug? Well, that's a bridge too far, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I guess you don't know until you want to do some heroin.
Let's try it. Let's try some crack cocaine. Let's try some cocaine. Let's try some heroin. It'll be fun. All right, we'll wrap this up soon, but real quick, I want to get your thoughts on this. So we might have spoken about this already. I don't know, but there was a number that texted me on New Year's, Happy New Year, and I didn't know who the fuck it was. And I was like, fuck. So I was going to do like the classic new phone, who dis?
Yeah.
But because it actually is a new phone, and I didn't know who the fuck it was. But I just didn't respond.
Oh.
So what is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat because I think I had someone too because I don't know. I think if you just own who's this? But then like.
Do you feel bad because then they're going to be like, this motherfucker does. I care enough to wish them a happy new year. And they don't even know who I am? Like, I just wish you a happy new year, dude. But like, it's such a level of consideration, and then for you to come back with, what? Who are you? I don't know you. You're so irrelevant to me that I don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah. But it could depend. I mean, you sort of, if their reaction is like, some like, come on, do you? Then it's just almost like, all right, fuck him, I'm not responding. But if they're sort of gangster and they're just like, yo, it's Rob, we met at the bar. which would be weird if Rob from the bar was texting you happy New Year.
Remember
I don't know why I thought of that.
Remember the
The
way I
on your phone, like you would meet like someone at the bar or something, it would just be like random, like you'd be like, yo, it's chill, like you like be like random dude from bar, like random chick from bar.
That's what I would
be
save
like,
in my phone, guys. I'm so bad with names that I'd be like,
you dead ass, like you would be like, yo, find me something.
Cool ass dude
like,
from school, like it would be that
girl with blonde hair. I would just be like, who's this? And you'd just be like,
I don't know her name though.
Fucking idea. Like I don't know how you would remember that shit.
I wouldn't. I never knew their fucking name.
True.
Like, you know what I always had a problem with? Getting to a point where I should have known the person's name and I don't know their name and it's too late to be like, yo, what's your name again? Tell me what your name is one more time. I don't know what it is.
That's always the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, because like, and also I find it's true. People say there's a trick when you meet somebody if you repeat their name to them. Like, oh, what's your name? My name's Todd. Oh, hey Todd, nice to meet you. If you repeat it, it's much more likely you'll remember it. I didn't do that for the longest time. And I would say what's up to people, and then they'd say their name, and then it's like immediately would go in one ear and out the other. Like if you ask me 3 minutes later, who's that? What's that person? I'd be like, fuck.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
and it sucks because Louis C.K. said this. He was like, when he got into an elevator with someone, and you make a connection with another human being. It's such a powerful moment in like your two lives, and the fact that like they just told you your name and you forgot it is almost just like. For them, it's probably like, well, fuck this dude. I remembered his name. He didn't remember my shit. Like, whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
like I feel like a bad person. Like it's a selfish fucking thing to do because obviously what's going on there is I got something else on my mind that I'm convinced is way more important, and I don't even have room to remember the most basic facts about this person I just met. Like even your name, I don't. It's like my mind goes, fuck him.
Yeah,
like
for real.
Simultaneously, fuck him. Who cares? Fuck that guy. Move on.
And with the cell phone, it's probably even worse because it's like you had a connection with whoever this was, girl, guy, fucking alien, whatever, like to exchange phone contact information.
And they would always bring. I'd never ask somebody for their phone number if I don't know their name. So they would ask me, like, oh, what's hey man, we should work out, like we should go to the gym or some shit. Oh yeah, man, cool. And then they're like, so what's your number? I'm like, oh shit,
fuck. And then they would like look over your phone and like while you have to type in their name, and it's just like. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in later. I just gotta finish my beer.
Yeah, I'm so bad.
It's weird. No, I don't know. I usually hit them with like just own up to it and just be like, "Who's this? My bad."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, it's Chris." I'll be like, "Yo, happy New Year, man. I appreciate you reaching out." Like,
I feel like I'm even though I talk for a living and shit. Like, if I know you and I'm really close with you, we could talk like whatever. Like, we can flow about whatever. But I'm like socially awkward in a way where it's like I'm fucking borderline autistic. Like when I'm out in public, I'm like,
not on the same way. I mean,
that noise is in my head the whole time I'm out in public.
We think the same way. Like whenever we have to do, like I had to get a haircut the other day, and before I got my haircut, I literally thought, like I was on my couch and I was just like, I'm gonna have to walk in somewhere, like say to the person at the counter, like, hi, how are you? And they're going to be like, oh, like, what do you want to get? Like, and so deadass, the lady was cutting my hair and she's like, oh, like, what are your plans for tonight? I was like, I don't know.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. She must have thought I was the weirdest dude ever because I just didn't want to talk. Like, not every situation has to call for someone talking. So you should, people should be able to read people. And that's why I liked our honeymoon in Hawaii because we were in, like, Maui. And
to be clear, not yours and mine, you and your wife. The way you said that sounded like us.
Yeah, our honeymoon, and but everybody was there. Everyone who was there knew they were on vacation and not to fuck with each other.
That's what's up.
And people here in the States don't know that. So like me and you, when we go out, it's just like we're gonna have to interact with maybe someone who's too over the top, or maybe someone who's on our level.
But you're good at it though. That's the thing that I don't get is like you don't think you're good at it, but you're good at it. I'm not even good at it. I'm like Like once you get into it, like you could like people be like, "Oh, Corin, that's my boy." Like they love you because you can flow with it. But I guess your whole thing is the icebreaker. You're like, I don't want to fucking stop.
But there's some shit that like you don't need. Like if you're just trying to get a haircut, you don't need that.
I know,
to be yourself.
Is that a uniquely American thing? I feel like that might be like American. Like we're really individualistic and shit. Like I feel like if you're in Europe or something, people are like, "Oh, jolly good day. How are you, chap?" And it's like, "Oh, very good."
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I mean,
in DR or something like that. Like people like are very friendly, but like they know if you're coming into their store to buy some shit, it's just like boom, boom, boom. Like it's not like talking about a day or just starting a random conversation because you just have to. That's just how we are here.
My idea of a good time is like a laptop in my lap, like a movie on the screen, and like a dark room. And that's it. Like, that's all I need. I got the world at my fingertips with the internet. I can watch whatever the fuck I want on the other screen. It's like that. I don't know why.
But you enjoy like going out to play golf, and you probably interact with people on the golf course. I do,
but even it's funny you say that because even that, like the whole process, like when I'm on the course playing, it's like, oh, this is fun as fuck. But like, oh, I gotta drive there, and then I gotta talk to the guy behind the counter and give him the money, and then I gotta fucking talk to the people. You want to go to the bar after and blah blah blah. It's like that episode of South Park.
But you were the first. Which one?
Where he like Stan, I think anytime anybody talks, you just see shit coming out of their mouth and shit. It's like everything is shit, and people are talking. It's like that's me everywhere I go. Unless like when I'm doing the thing I like it. But to get the whole process of it is like, just let me press a button and be there.
But you were the first, and I tell this to anyone. Like, so me and Molly were looking to buy a couch, and you like set the standard for me. Because wherever you go somewhere, you just want to get what you're getting and not go through all the bullshit.
So true.
Like when you're buying a couch, someone will try and sell you. Like, dude, have you seen the extra? You're like,
give me that shit and shut the fuck up.
This is the couch I want. Yeah. Like, how do we get it to my house now?
Right. Yeah. Don't try to upsell me. Don't try to fucking like when I got my car about probably a year or two ago. My newest car. I say like I have multiple. I only have one. The guy at the place, I told the guy, I used to be in the car business. Yeah. So that was me throwing out a tester like, hey, dipshit, I know what all this is about. I know it's 93.6% bullshit. Don't try to upsell me. The business manager's job is to upsell you. Do you want the Scotch Guard protection on your seats, or you want the thing on your tire, or do you want the fucking extended warranty where I'm going to bang you in the ass for fucking months, and then when something happens, you still pay the same amount of money? And he hit me, even though I let him know, like, dog, I got it. Chill. He hit me with well, since you were in the business, I'm going to give you the special deal.
Oh, God.
I was like, this motherfucker. And you know me, like you said, there are times I'll buy some shit that I have no business buying online. I'll buy it online. I'll be like, I'm going to get that shit. And people are like, you're an idiot. You shouldn't buy something like that online, whatever it might be. Like, you got to see that in person. I'm like, oh, yeah? Watch me do it. Watch me buy it online right now. When I bought furniture, I was like, they're like, you're not going to fucking sit on your furniture before you buy it. I was like, no, I'm going to buy it. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So that's
probably what makes you good at what you do, though, because there's no fluff around your shit. You know, like it's just like
it takes
straight to the.
It takes a certain kind of person to like that. Like some people like the flowery nonsense. I despise it. But okay, if you like the flowery nonsense, go watch somebody who gives you the flowery nonsense. I'm not giving any of that. Yeah. So there's a certain kind of person who goes, oh, I like that. Dude, my computer is about to die in like 3 seconds, so we have to cut this short.
Okay.
All right. Everybody, love y'all. We'll see you soon. Corin, thanks as always, brother. Peace, everyone.